From the beautiful city of Los Angeles, California, we bring you the Gimme Three podcast. Hello and welcome, cinephiles, cinema lovers, movie appreciators, friends, and family to the Gimme Three podcast, a series for cinephiles. The show where we pick three films based off of one theme. We are your hosts. I'm Nicholas Ibarra, and I'm joined as always by my fabulous friend Bella F. Stratus. Bella, how's it cooking over there?
It's cooking, you know. I'm very, very excited for this episode. We're going to be talking about two of my top two favorite Pixar movies.
Oh,
so I'm excited to jump in.
Fascinating. Well, once again, we are joined by Mr. Max Sopkin to continue our discussion of Pixar films. Max, what is good?
What up, gang?
In West Covina. What's going down in West Covina today?
In Weco, as I've called it. I'm rebranding it to Weco so that it sounds
like
better.
That. It's very hip.
Now, Max, I must ask you, you have a beautiful young daughter now who is close to 2, Felicity, and you've been revisiting some of these Pixar films. And I know she's still pretty young, but has she joined you in watching any of these Pixar films? Has she been engaged enough to like them?
A little bit here and there. They're just slightly too old for her.
Mm-hmm.
She's still in the Sesame Street, Blue's Clues, Miss Rachel kind of phase. You know what we have been watching is a lot of the Disney Renaissance stuff. And actually we've been watching a lot of the 2D Disney animated stuff. So like just yesterday she was asking kitty movie, and she wanted to watch Aristocats. So we watched that.
It's a good
about
movie.
a month. Yeah, we watched that about a month ago,
Yeah.
and now she wanted to watch it again. But she only sits there for about 15 to 20 minutes before she like kind of goes off and does something else. So
Yeah.
I think it's probably another year or so before she's into the Pixar stuff, is my guess.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, she'll come around. I recently saw Aristocats for the first time not too long ago during one of our Slumber Slam events. Max has been. Bella will come once we do another one, but we do like me and my friend Eric host these all night movie marathons. And we played the Aristocats in one of them in our Pussy Galore Slumber Slam.
Everybody wants to be a cat.
Yeah.
I love
Aristocats. There's so many good songs. Like that's a Disney movie that has a very underrated soundtrack.
Yes, agreed. Maurice Chevalier and and so many fun, weird songs.
Mm-hmm.
Abraham DeLacy, Giuseppe Casey. I know them all.
I love it.
Well, friends, if you missed Monday's episode, one, you should absolutely check it out because we went deep on 3 amazing Pixar films, or 2 amazing Pixar films, if you ask Max. Toy Story, which was Max's pick, Coco, which was my pick, and then Ratatouille, which was our listener pick. But today we've got 3 more for you. Give me 3 more Pixar films, and Max is going to start us off here with the first one.
Really? This is a co-pick almost between me and Bella.
Yeah.
That we both truly love this movie so much. I think you could honestly call it a dual pick. A Bug's Life is the second movie to come out of Pixar Studios, 1998, also directed by John Lasseter. And this movie is Seven Samurai with insects. If you've ever seen that, if you've never seen A Bug's Life, but you have somehow seen Seven Samurai, there you go. That's the plot. It's Flick is the inventor / idiot of his ant colony, and everything he tries to do turns to shit. But he's very lovable. The ants are gathering for the harvest, and the grasshoppers. Really, what they're doing is they're gathering to appease their grasshopper overlords, and then who come to take all their food. And Flick gets banished after knocking over a bunch of food. And then he goes to recruit great warriors to help him fight off the grasshoppers and save his colony. But unbeknownst to him, they're circus insects. And unbeknownst to the circus insects, they think they're being hired to play a birthday party. They think they're playing a bar mitzvah, and instead they're going into the gladiator ring. And hijinks ensue. This movie is the best. It's the best. I have to start weirdly by talking about the score. I think
the score's
music
great.
Yes.
To this movie is maybe short, like maybe right behind Incredibles in terms of just like the best music for any Pixar film. It is
Agreed.
it has this just real sing-songy quality to it.
Mm-hmm.
While making you think about it, makes you think of spring, but it makes you think of working a little bit. It makes you feel proud. It makes you feel like you're accomplishing something, like an ant. And it's just, I don't know, man. It's a song. It's the music to this. I find myself whistling or humming or thinking about, even after it's been a year or 2 or 3 after not having seen this film. So that's like, to me, the longest lasting effect of this movie is its music. It's
also Randy Newman, correct?
Yeah, 100%. He's just
how versatile he is. Yeah,
dude's just knocking it out of the park.
You got friend me, and then from that to this is just like,
I mean, he does all the classical scores. He does it for Toy Story and for this movie and Monsters Inc. and that's why he's got 92 Oscar nominations.
Right,
you know,
right.
Yeah.
But yeah, the plot of this movie, I didn't realize this until I watched Seven Samurai for the first time last year. I'm sitting there watching Seven Samurai, and halfway through I go, wait a minute, this movie's A Bug's Life. This movie is just A Bug's Life.
So awesome. Now I gotta check that out.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, if you've never seen Seven Samurai, like, this is kind of like the moment to talk about it. And I was just telling my friend Sam about Seven Samurai the other day. Is that, you know, this is like Kurosawa's like most probably enduring legacy of a film is Seven Samurai. That I thought everybody talks about Seven Samurai. It's super hyped. It's not going to be that good. It was better. It was a straight up masterpiece. It's better than I ever could have thought. If you've never seen Seven Samurai, watch the movie and then watch A Bug's Life and then watch Rebel Moon that just came out. That stupid
Zack
Snyder movie. It's literally this exact same plot. The story has been told time and time again. No one's done it as good as Kurosawa, but
I thought you were going to say Pixar.
I mean, A Bug's Life comes close because they did something that nobody else has attempted to do in this and make it funny. You know,
right.
Like they took a different approach. Yeah, it's very serious. Hopper is a very scary villain.
Oh my God, one of the scariest.
Really scary.
Yeah.
Psycho, right? But the rest of the movie is very funny to turn like the plot of it into a farce that they're so unlucky as to recruit circus performers.
Clowns.
Literal clowns to defend them. You know, is kind of shocking, but it's so charming. So, I mean, Seven Samurai is like the paragon, right? It's the platonic ideal of this film.
Right.
But A Bug's Life makes it so charming and so funny. Those damn circus insects.
Such a good crew of like motley crew. I think Pixar, I think this movie is criminally underrated.
Yes.
And even like in pop culture, like I was watching a video talking about how the trailer for The Incredibles was like from the creators of Toy Story and Monsters Inc. and Finding Nemo, and they just completely passed over A Bug's Life. And a lot of the people who worked on A Bug's Life were really hurt by this because they're like, we put our heart and soul into this. And I don't know why it's not getting the recognition it deserves. And I totally agree. I think this second feature for Pixar just like immediately proved themselves again with just an outstanding level of creativity. You know, we got the world of the toys and now we have the world of the bugs, and it's genius, honestly.
It's the most slept on Pixar movie, in my opinion.
Yeah.
By far. And especially in terms of how good it is compared to the short shrift it gets. That it's a shame because it is such a dynamite movie.
Yeah. I'm so glad. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think part of that reason at the beginning of Monday's episode, I said there are certain movies that I think are a little bit more for adults than for kids. And this was the movie I was referring to, actually, not Coco.
Interesting.
Oh, I thought WALL-E was the one you were talking about.
Well, that one too.
That
one too. But this one, I think, you know, when I saw this as a kid, because I saw this when it came out, I was like, yeah, this ain't Toy Story, you know. I can't buy these fuckers.
No one's buying little ant toys.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, totally true.
But also like watching it as an adult, because we actually watched this for a Slumber Slam as well for the
really?
For the A Bug Up Your Ass theme. But I was like, it wasn't until then that I was like, oh, there's like crazy communist, like pro-union undertones in this. This movie's very, very fight the power, which I think as a kid, it kind of just goes over your head. You know, you're just like, oh, the grasshoppers are bad. But seeing it as an adult, I'm like, oh, this movie's got something fucking real powerful to say. And I didn't appreciate it as a child, but I appreciate it a lot more now as an adult.
I love that. Yeah. Fun. This is kind of off topic a little bit, but did you guys ever watch Ants?
Oh yeah. It's not off topic. I was going to bring this up.
Cause that's a movie that I also grew up on. And it's so bizarre to me that, they came out the same year, but like,
well, that's a whole
similar vibes, right? Because it's like, you know, the banished ant, you know, he doesn't fit in. I guess it's like in a little bit of a different way, but
it's a huge controversy that kind of dogs this movie. That Katzenberg leaves Disney and he starts DreamWorks with Spielberg, and then, you know, then all of a sudden they have their own bug movie coming out, and Katzenberg claims, oh, it was my secretary that pitched this movie to me or whatever. Blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, right. It just so happens to be the case that you come out with your own Ants movie, and then Ants was slated to come out like a year after Bug's Life, and he comes back to the studio and says, like, to DreamWorks animators, and says, I'll give you whatever you need to make this movie come out the same time as A Bug's Life.
Oh, wow.
He was pissed that A Bug's Life was coming out the same weekend as Prince of Egypt, and he was worried that Prince of Egypt was going to get absolutely crushed, which it did. I mean, I think A Bug's Life would beat that. And then Katzenberg calls Jobs and says, Steve Jobs, like, you gotta convince Disney to move A Bug's Life, and I will delay Ants. And Steve Jobs is like, fuck you, you're trying to extort me, dude. Like, what are you doing? And then it's a whole thing about this movie.
I mean, it makes sense. Like, they even have the whole idea of like the ants uprising, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like same movie but different.
Except Ants is the adult, edgier version.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what Katzenberg was trying to do to Toy Story, where he was like, I want to make it edgier. And everybody was like, you're wrong about this. And he's like, okay, fine. So he goes and starts DreamWorks, takes the very movie that they were working on, and is like, I'm going to make the edgy version of this. And then it's just not as good. It's just not as popular. It's not as
good. It's really disturbing as well.
Stallone
and Woody Allen.
Jennifer Lopez.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah. I did grow up watching both of those a lot, though. I can't lie. But I think I always preferred A Bug's Life. Obviously, because it was, catered to children much more than Ants was.
It's a better movie.
It's just a better
And
movie. Yeah.
it's a better movie, of course. Yeah, that's not even up for debate. I think this movie was also another example of just the really clever, I don't know exactly what word to use, but like basically like cinematography Pixar creates in all their films. Like just from the opening shot, it's like a ground level view of a bird in the sky, and then a leaf falls into the puddle that we're actually looking at, like sending all these ripples through the reflected image. And it's just like little details like this that are so beautiful and really immerses you in the world, like right from the very beginning.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Yeah, I think it's Pixar's one of their best animations of all time, even though it's only their second.
And on top of that, it is. I think two of the three movies I picked to talk about are very straight up comedies, right? Like this movie is very laugh out loud funny. In
my God,
just so like Toy Story,
funny.
You know, the fly in the circus is like, I only got 24 hours to live. And I'm not gonna waste it here.
Right,
it flies off.
Who ordered the poo poo platter?
Yeah,
just a bunch of flies.
Who ordered the poo poo platter?
You know, Heimlich the caterpillar, and he's so funny. And then he sprouts those tiny little wings at the end as the butterfly.
I'm finished! Finally, I'm a beautiful butterfly!
I'm a beautiful butterfly.
I will never forget those words. They're like ingrained into my brain.
David Hyde Pierce as the stick bug is so good.
Oh,
I mean, it's
so funny.
Yeah,
that was kind of like the cool thing about this movie is like the cast wasn't made up of like mega stars. Like, yeah, I guess they had Kevin Spacey, but like the rest of the cast at this time in 1998, it was like, you know, kind of the second bill supporting characters on a lot of TV shows. You had like Brad Garrett, Richard King, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who I guess is probably like the bigger star of the three I just mentioned. But, you know, a lot of like second fiddle on TV shows, but they absolutely make a great ensemble.
Right. Yes, it's better chemistry than Sylvester Stallone and Woody Allen.
right.
And talking to each other. No, 100%. This is it's such a fun, unique film.
Yeah. It's one that has like endless quotes for me as well. Like just the funniest little like quips like back to back. One of them I love even is like I love Manny, the like praying mantis. And like, at the end of the film he has that line when Flick's doubting himself. He's like,
You listen to me, my boy. I've made a living out of being a failure, and you, sir, are not a failure.
It's like so many like great little moments like that that this film just makes me have a permanent smile on my face. It's so enjoyable, except for the moments with Hopper, which almost made me pee my pants as a kid because he's so damn scary, and he's made even scarier being voiced by Kevin Spacey, honestly. So
I know it kind of adds to the villainous.
I'm like, oh god.
But he really plays that role so well.
He commits.
Good.
He commits.
Really commits. Yes, you absolutely get it. It comes through they're not super expressive, those faces, right? They can only be so expressive in 1998, but like
right.
It really the performances have to be that much stronger. And I mean, nobody commits like Kevin Spacey. So
yeah.
I was gonna make a bad joke there, but I won't.
There's plenty. Even just like that the grasshopper arrival scene at the beginning used to scare the shit out of me. Like where the ants are all hiding under and you can just hear them up there.
Like
and
motorcycles.
Like, I love how they're like, and then they leave, they're like, let's ride. Yeah. It's like the grasshoppers are like a Mad Max bike gang. Like I was trying to think of like I feel like Pixar has like a way of like leveling up their animation with little things in each movie a little bit. Like, you know, we see with Monsters Inc. they go into like the fur. With this one, I was like reading up on it, and I saw a video where they talked about like how the production of this film felt like going from they said it was like freshman year how to make a movie with Toy Story to like senior thesis with Bugs Life, because for one, they had like a huge cast for this film to work with. They had widescreen shots, they had like uneven ground playing of all the like that shot of Flick on the cliff when he's about to like sail over on a little dandelion. And then animating organics, you know, like the leaves, the dewdrops, the trees, the mushrooms. Having to do that, they had to work on like transparency. Like there's so many beautiful moments of like the sun shining through these leaves, and it's just really impressive stuff, honestly.
Or just animating hundreds of ants.
And that's one I was thinking about too. I was like, oh my God, that must have been so meticulous.
I was reading they had to just write software. You just literally had to invent wholesale out of nothing.
That's crazy.
New software to be like, all right, this ant does this, and then these other ants follow that ant. And then you randomize the pattern, and it makes it look like they're all doing something, when really you only have to program so much. But
it's clever.
Yeah. I mean, and then when we talk about Monsters Inc., we'll have to talk about all the physics stuff, because like
it's fascinating.
Yeah.
This is like so off topic again, not really, but I will never forgive Disneyland for getting rid of a bug world and replacing it with the concrete Stark Industry buildings of Marvel World. I don't know if you guys ever went to that, but it was so cool. They did like,
that was at Disney World?
It was at Disneyland.
Oh.
But they had like a whole Bugs Life section, and there was like a Heimlich the Caterpillar ride where you'd like be inside him, I guess. And he'd go through like really big fruits and vegetables. Like you would go through a watermelon and you would smell the watermelon. It was so fucking awesome.
That's fun.
But now it's just concrete buildings for Stark Industries. So rest in peace to a Bugs
Just your
World.
memories now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but just goes to show how underappreciated a Bug's Life is.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and it also kind of goes to it goes to show that like, I feel like so many people just skip over this movie, like they don't even think to watch it. So that's why I'm so happy that you picked it as well, to like try to get more of our friends and family and listeners to check it out. Especially like this is like a kids family movie that I would always recommend to like people of any ages. Like I'm like this. Well, you will have a good time. It's so damn funny.
So damn funny. And like I said, you know, if you took that song "Fight the Power,"
yeah,
and embodied it into a film, you know, a lot of people would say "Do the Right Thing." I say "A Bug's Life."
Yeah, this all Bug's Life is missing is just Radio Raheem. Radio.
I think he was in the original. They cut him. They cut it. Radio Raheem.
They cut for time.
Yeah,
they should have had a scene with like the rings, Bug's Life.
There you go. Oh, that's dope, actually. Oh,
right?
Rings that say Bug's Life on it. Oh, I love that. Oh my God, I love that.
It would be awesome.
Check it out, my friends. It is on Disney Plus, along with the other films that we're going to be discussing today. A Bug's Life. All right, which brings us to Bella's pick of the week. Her Pixar pick.
My all-time favorite, Pixar's fourth feature film, Monsters, Inc. So chronologically, Pixar has taken us to the world of toys and the world of bugs, and now we get to see the world of monsters, and it's not all that different from our own. In this world, the monsters have a fully functioning society called Monstropolis. The only significant difference, besides the obvious fact that they're monsters, is that their primary energy source comes from the screams of human children. This brings us to Monsters Incorporated, the largest energy corporation in Monstropolis. The company relies on human children's screams to power their world, but with kids becoming less and less afraid each year, the company is facing a serious energy crisis. This brings in James P. Sullivan, known as Sully, played by John Goodman, and Mike Wazowski, played by Billy Crystal, as our dynamic monster duo in the film. Sully is the company's top scarer, while Mike is his devoted manager and best friend. Their perfect lives are turned upside down when they come into contact with a human girl who has ventured through her closet and into the monster world. While Mike and Sully try to figure out what the hell to do with this kid, Sully nicknames the little girl Boo and becomes attached as he realizes children are not toxic to monsters and are actually kind of sweet little creatures. But they must now find Boo's door to return her home safely, all while avoiding detection and keeping their reputations intact. Yeah, I've said it before. I'll say it again. My all-time favorite Pixar movie. I just get such a like indescribable feeling watching it. As soon as I turn this movie on, I get the same feeling when I turn on Portrait of a Lady on Fire. I know I'm emotionally self-sabotaging myself, and I could not be more down. Those are like my two go-to films when I need a good cry. Yes. I think it just has this also like another level of nostalgia mixed in.
For sure.
It was like my most rewatched film as a kid, honestly. Like I have vivid memories of watching this on like my little DVD player pretty much every day. Just feeling so enthralled with like the story and the characters. I was scared but excited. Like I would argue this was my introduction to horror with that like opening scene.
Right.
It's so good. But yeah, every second of this film works for me. Even just the animated opening credits and theme song, like one of my favorites, the multicolored doors and creepy monster illustrations. It's just so charming. And like, I think it immediately sparks an interest like, oh, what the hell is this going to be about? And then also just, I think it has one of the best opening scenes of all time. Like it really sets the stage and gives you all the information you need to understand Monstropolis and like the company and the work that Sully and Mike do there, without being too like taking too much time to be like, okay, how are we going to explain this to kids and stuff?
Mm-hmm.
And then just a side note, like the sound design, I love it. I want to like eat the sounds. They're so like crisp and delicious. But yeah, so that's my adoring appreciation for Monsters, Inc. But let's hear what you guys think about it.
What do you think the thought process was when writing the script into giving the monsters just straight up real human names? Like, what do you think? Oh,
I never thought about that.
Because like they're all monsters. Their name should be like Gleep Glorp or whatever, and instead it's like
James P. Sullivan.
Sullivan. Yeah, he's a middle initial.
I wonder what the P stands for.
You know what I'm saying?
P
like,
stands for.
Exactly.
Perky. Yeah. Right. You know, what is that? Is it just meant to like anthropomorphize them a little bit more to make them slightly more relatable to the human condition? Is that it?
Yeah, I think so. And to make them kind of feel like it's like, these are the working men, you know? It's like, these are the working monsters of the world. And they're just like, James P. Sullivan, employee of the month. It's like, fucking A, that guy's all right.
Mike Wazowski, Polish loudmouth.
Right, yeah. It's like, hey, I know Mike, you know?
Yeah. It's a good point you make, though, because I wonder if it's almost like hierarchical because, like, some of the less big characters do have like monster names. Like there's this one in the very beginning, you know, there's like the scene where it shows you like the simulation and the character in the simulation, like the interviewer is like, Mr. Bile, is it? And he's like, my buddies call me Phlegm.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, that's not like Randall or Mike.
Mr.
Or like,
Water News.
Yeah, Mr. Water News.
His name's Phlegm Bile.
Yeah, exactly. Or like Randall's sidekick is named Fungus. It's like, that's not fair. Why do these guys get like dirty names?
Yeah, that is kind of funny. I don't know. That's a good point. You know what? This movie I've not seen in a really long time. Really long time. At least not whole. I've seen it in part when taking Felicity to the pediatrician. You know, they always got a TV
always on there.
And in the lobby at the pediatrician's office, it's always on. You're absolutely right. So I've caught, snippets of it here and there. So not having seen this movie in probably 15 years, I can say without a doubt, it is very different once you have a kid. Like once you're an adult and you have a kid, to me, this movie got way more metaphorical than it was. Like, it was like really like allegorical than it was like literal. In that watching Sully and Mike become parents, you're literally watching them become parents. Like the parentification of Sully is very obvious. It's very, very obvious.
Yes.
But it's about two people who are given a child who they cannot return back to where it came from. So they just have to live with their new reality. Everything it touches turns to shit. It's a toxic barrel of waste, this child, but they love it for reasons they cannot possibly explain. And like that's having a 2-year-old.
Parenthood.
It's literally exactly what it is. I'm living it currently. So like that scene after they've been exiled and they're hanging out with the abominable snowman, and Mike is like, what about me and Celia, and what about everything we're doing? And Sully turns to Mike and says, none of that's important anymore. That really got me.
Right.
Really got me. He's like, I just got to do what's right by Boo. That's the only thing that matters. And I was like, oh shit. Damn, Monsters Inc. You really snuck this in here.
It gets you. It gets you where you least expect it.
I'm a little verklempt just talking about it, even because like it's I wasn't expecting it to be like this because I hadn't seen it in so long. But now that I have a kid, it just made it way more powerful. Way more powerful. This to me as a movie went from like a B to like an A upon rewatching. For that.
Yeah.
But that's, because my own perspective.
Right. Yeah. This was my first watch of this whole Monsters Inc. film.
Really?
Oh my God.
First time. And I enjoyed it. Yeah. No, I mean, I thought it was a giant piece of trash, but no, I'm just kidding.
Oh no. You're gonna make me cry.
No, I'm kidding. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I loved Billy Crystal and John Goodman, I think, had perhaps the best dual chemistry of any of the Pixar films that we have seen, with the exception of actually maybe the last film that we're going to talk about, which is like, no actors potentially.
Right.
But the chemistry and the comedic timing and just like the humanity, the like natural humanity that comes out of like John Goodman's performance is really like, it was something I picked on immediately as it, like in the first 5 minutes, I was like, man, he is good in this. He makes you feel like it's like, he's basically playing the what's his name? The dad from Roseanne, he's just like a fucking working Joe, and then some crazy stuff happens. But so I really, really enjoyed their performances. Boo is obviously adorable, and like, how could you not love her? She's so cute.
Okay, all right. Making nice little area for you to... No, hey, that's my bed. You're going to get your germs all over it. Hey, fine. My chair is more comfortable anyway.
Ow!
What?
I want to know what is in my pot.
So funny.
But interesting hearing you talk about it as a parent, Max, because the other big thing that I noticed in this film, as opposed to pretty much every other Pixar film that I've seen, I haven't seen them all, but most Pixar films start you off like within the first 10 minutes or so. They let you know what the emotional want is for the main characters. Like, they let you know what the emotional stakes are and what the emotional wants, and they hint at what the actual emotional needs are for the character. And this film doesn't do that. And for that reason, it took a while for me to like fully invest and get into it, because for a long time in the film, it's just kind of like they're just trying to break the record and they're trying to get kids screams. It's very like plot driven. Whereas I think what makes a lot of the Pixar films so great is like they are plot driven, but they're also like emotionally driven. It's the emotion is driving the car, and the plot is kind of like, there as a fun, exciting red herring. Obviously we get the emotional want and need, but it just comes much later. And I think once we get that in the movie, it started clicking a lot more for me. But for a good like first 30, 40 minutes, I was having a good time. I was like, this is fantastic world building, but I was not emotionally invested until
Boo.
the stuff you started talking about, Max, until until Sully, it's not even until Boo comes in. It's until Sully realizes that he's changed because of Boo. Because he's kind of flat up until that point.
It's where he's playing, but that, I mean, if that's not a metaphorical for a lot of dads, a lot of men who are just that way until they have a child. It's the scene where he's playing with her in the bathroom at work, right? He's doing hide and seek, and he thinks he loses her for a second. He actually can't find her, and he starts to be legit worried about her,
right?
Where he realizes like how much he actually needs her to feel, complete or whatever. And for Mike, it doesn't click until 80% of the movie is done.
Right.
Where
he calls her it. Like I noticed, like within like the hours of meeting Boo, Sully starts calling her she, and then gives her a nickname. And Mike is like, "Cut this shit out, dude! Like you're getting attached."
Mike until nearly the end, it still thinks it's about the record. Like, and really, and so. Yeah, he doesn't get that realization until much, much later.
Yeah.
So, I love the framing of this movie is like private utility company, of course, spearheaded by straight up criminal.
Yeah.
Who takes a public resource and privatizes it. Because it's like, it's been in my family for 3 generations. Like, okay, you should be owned by the state first of all.
Right. I know. If the whole state is like dependent on these screams, how are you guys failing?
Why are you allowed to privatize this resource like this? So first of all, you go to jail to begin with. But I do think it's like such an interesting framework that like they want, like what we're talking about here is resource abuse. Like it's fracking. They're basically talking about fracking.
Right.
Yeah.
But fracking children instead of mountains.
Which was the original working title of this film, Fracking Children.
fracking children. Yeah. It's a great film. It's a really good film.
It is.
I find I remember when this movie came out and on Disney, they used to have like a bunch of like little featurettes on the Disney Channel before the movie came out. And they talked so much at length about what it was like to animate this film. This is the first movie out of all the Pixar ones that has like any real hair.
Yeah. And a lot of hair.
And a lot of it, more than 2 million hairs on Sully's body. And they know this because they had to like individually place them in. And then how the physics affects each of these hairs, they had to invent this tool they called Fizzed, which is short for physics tool. And this is what I was talking about with Toy Story, where like Andy's clothes don't move. It's just like a texture, right? Like in this one, Boo's clothes move because she's like climbing over stuff, and you see her like moving around. She's a main character in this. And so they had to like write software that had to deal with like collision particles and how that worked, and what would happen if this clothing touched this piece of clothing, and what happens if this hair moves with this other hair. I mean, it's really remarkable stuff. No other Pixar movie had to deal with this up until this point. Everything was flat textured, toys, ants, so it didn't matter. But now it did, and this kind of sets the stage for Incredibles with water and fire and things like that. So it's the science of this movie to me is really like linked.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's fascinating.
There was
Yeah.
one shot in particular where I really noticed Sully's hair, and it's he like goes down that snowy mountain, you know, and he eats it, and he's like lying face down in the snow, and this giant gust of wind and snow comes, and it just like you see his hairs like move and react to the wind, and I'm like, damn, that looks good. Like they did a good job at that.
And that probably cost a fortune.
Yeah.
And it probably took a lifetime to render and animate, you know, but like they threw it in there because the detail is necessary to make it feel more lifelike. And because like at that point, if you already invented this tool, you're like, all right, we're showing off. Because like, why not?
Right.
The average person doesn't think twice about it because it is so real.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Like the snowflakes. I watched a video talking about how that was the most, I'm glad you brought it up, because that was the most difficult scene to animate. Because they had to do a whole bunch of layers of snow and different types of snowflakes and figure out like at what point in this fall, like how many snowflakes would he have on different parts of his fur and where, and they had to animate every single individual one.
How that
it ended up
with
being
the
like
hair.
thousands. Yeah. And
Crazy.
it's just insane. Yeah. And it pays off so well, like especially because that's such an emotional scene, like it's such a devastating scene that it makes it that much, it amplifies it, you know.
We just take for granted, I think now almost 25 years later, we just take for granted how easy it is to just do something in post. You just we'll just do it in post, we'll just throw in some CG effects in the background and that'll be it, and, you know, whatever. I mean, like this, like moments like that are born out of human work and ingenuity that some coders had to sit there for hours and hours and hours just being like, how do I make this function? How do I make this work? And so, you know, movies like Dune are born on the backs of Monsters, Inc. It's crazy to think
honestly
about, but like, it really is.
Yeah. Monsters, Inc. walked so Dune 2 could run.
It's very true. I fully agree with that.
I think, another aspect of this film that just makes me love it so much is just the world building of it, like the attention to detail. Like when they're walking across the street, this crosswalk says, "Don't stock," or "stock." Like, you know, it's just like goofy little things like that. Or like I noticed this time rewatching it that Mike has a sticky note in his locker that's with a to-do list, and the only thing on it is file paperwork. And it's like,
and
that's
he just
his whole
never
thing.
does it.
Never does it. It's right there in front of him every day. Just like little things like that are just such great moments in this film. And of course, like the character design as well. I love that scene at the beginning where we get to see all the different monsters getting like geared up to go and do their day's work, and there's like the monster putting in like his removable eyeballs or like you know, razor sharp dentures. Like there's so much character and I love it.
All right, Bella, let's hear your best Roz impression.
Oh God, I don't think I can do it.
Come on, you just gotta
How do you
for it.
access that?
You just gotta commit. Just let's hear it.
Okay. You didn't file your paperwork.
That was pretty damn good.
Awesome.
That was pretty damn good.
Thanks.
Good morning, Roz, my succulent little garden snail. And who would we be scaring today?
Wazowski, you didn't file your paperwork last night.
Oh, that darn paperwork. Wouldn't it be easier if it all just blew away?
Don't let it happen again.
Yes, well, I'll try to be less careless.
I'm watching you, Wazowski. Always watching.
Whew, she's nuts.
Also, talk about Roz being number one, CDA number one, the undercover, that whole movie. That was something I did not catch as a child. I was like, what? Okay. She's a great character.
Yeah,
she is. Lots of fun characters. And excellent world building, which Pixar is so great at.
Yeah.
Monsters, Inc., the movie that changed Max's life forever. As an adult. As an adult.
Talk about prequels we don't need though. Monsters University. I watched that. I'm like, why Why are we doing this?
It's
What's
like
this?
it was fun, but like, yeah. I mean, as someone who loves Monsters Inc., like I would never revisit that movie.
It's like one of those
Monsters
things where like
University.
I love those characters. You know what I want to see them be is younger and stupider. Like,
Right.
okay,
Mhm.
no
Mhm.
thanks.
Right.
Yeah. Wait, did this movie make any of you guys cry, or is that just me?
This one did not make me cry.
Oh my god. Okay, good to know.
Not like
Noted.
Wall-E.
Not like Wall-E, which is
Fair.
what we are finishing up with. Max, take it away with Wall-E.
Wall-E. Oh, Wall-E.
Oh, that was good.
I've seen this movie a lot. 2008, directed by Andrew Stanton. I have seen this movie I saw this movie in theaters. I saw it when it came out. This movie is about Wall-E, the last robot on Earth. He's a trash compactor. He's a mobile trash compactor, and his job is to make boxes of trash. When he discovers a plant on Earth hidden in a boot, and he takes it home and he waters it, and then all of a sudden a probe named Eve comes down and is looking for signs of life on Earth. When she and Wall-E are kind of standoffish a little bit, and then she discovers the plant. She takes it, she eats it, and then she holds onto it, and Wall-E protects her, and the two of them get taken onto the Axiom, which is the ship where humanity has been living for hundreds of years, and they've turned into fat jellyfish blobs because of TV and soda and weightlessness. And then they must navigate the ship back to Earth and start humanity anew. This is a mind-blowing movie. This is an absolute masterpiece. This is why I picked this one, because to me it's second only to Toy Story in terms of overall quality, and then I would put Up right behind this one. The second this movie starts, when I was watching this in the theaters, I was already in tears. It starts with Hello, Dolly, which is one of my all-time favorites. It starts with Michael Crawford out there. There's a world outside of Yonkers. It's just like, it catches you so off guard, right? Because you're like, wait, the trailers was about a CGI robot.
Mm-hmm.
So why are we starting with Hello, Dolly?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Why are we starting with this? And you find out later it's his connection to humanity, right?
Right.
Like Wall-E loves humans. He wants to be human. He wants to be in and around people.
He wants connection.
He wants connection. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what Sunday Close is all about. That's what Hello, Dolly is all about. And that's what humanity is all about, right? It's like that connection. So that when he finds Eve and he falls in love, and he's the La Vie en Rose, the Louis Armstrong La Vie en Rose is playing as he's holding the umbrella over her as it's raining. God, just
beautiful.
Kills me. Just kills me.
Yeah.
This is a silent movie for the first 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Right? Aside from Fred Willard being the by and large CEO.
Yeah.
It's a great casting.
This is amazing. It's amazing casting. I was reading that they wanted him because he's the most charming, most insincere car salesman. That's what they cast him.
I love that.
Other than that, it's just basically a silent film for like the whole first act.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that is so captivating. It really brings it back to the idea that film is a visual medium, that it's show don't tell,
right?
Mm-hmm.
That we adults and children alike don't need to be spoon-fed exposition or plot or character growth through dialogue, that we can just watch it happen.
Mm-hmm.
We can watch it unfold.
You could feel it.
You can feel it. I mean, and then of course all the dialogue later comes, and it's great. It's pretty funny. It's very sweet. Otto as a villain, incredibly scary.
Mm-hmm.
Now that we're talking about AI, we're on the precipice of AI. Like
right.
The fact that Otto as the villain is very terrifying. That's the ship
Yeah.
computer. But this movie to me just gets it. And why? So Toy Story is the first feature length CGI movie to be selected for the National Registry for the Library of Congress. This is the second.
Oh, wow.
Library of Congress bypassed all the other Pixar movies, and they picked this one, including Up, which was nominated for Best Picture. Library of Congress picked this film, and I think, to me, that speaks volumes.
Yeah, absolutely, it does.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think this is, for me, by far, like, objectively speaking, like, it's probably not the one that I'm just gonna like throw on if I'm like looking to have a good time.
Totally.
Right.
But objectively speaking, I think it is Pixar's best film. I think it's the best thing Disney has produced in the last like 50 years.
Sure.
It is emotionally gut-wrenching. It's got like, it's one of the most romantic movies they've ever done. It's emotionally just pulls on your heartstrings, like from the get, as you said, Max. And then it is extremely scary and like alarming to just be like, I remember watching this in the theater when it came out and be like, oh, this is a possibility, huh? Like, and then and now rewatching it, it's just like, yeah, we are getting just closer and closer to this
really
shit.
close.
Like, by and large, is Amazon, you know, like
Exactly. You can like literally see the comparisons in our, or parallels in our world today.
Too much garbage in your face? There's plenty of space out in space. B&L Starliners leaving each day. We'll clean up the mess while you're away. The jewel of the B&L fleet, the Axiom. Spend your 5-year cruise in style, waited on 24 hours a day by our fully automated crew, while your captain and autopilot chart a course for non-stop entertainment, fine dining, and with our all-access hover chairs, even Grandma can join the fun. There's no need to walk. The Axiom, putting the star in Executive Starliner.
Because at B&L, space is the final frontier.
So it's so dense and it's so emotionally challenging and it's so beautifully animated and the characters are so endearing. And like you said, most of the film has no dialogue, and all of this incredible achievement is done through straight up visual storytelling. So I think it is, for me, objectively speaking, not just like personal, like, oh, I like this one, you know, it's my personal taste. Objectively, I think this is the best Pixar film. And I think it's one of the best films of this century so far.
I heavily agree.
Yeah. I don't think I had rewatched this movie since it came out in 2000. It was 2008, right? Yeah. I think I saw it in theaters and it really upset me. I can't lie. Like, I hated this movie as a kid. I was so freaked out by everything going on.
Challenge for kids. I agree.
With the humans, like, and then I was really confused about like the by and large ads had real humans, and then you saw these like really disturbing other type of humans. So it was never my favorite as a kid, but I'm like watching, I'm like, okay, that was such a bad take I had. This movie's brilliant. And watching it as an adult, 16 years later is just crazy. And like the relevance of the film today is honestly eerie. But I couldn't agree more with what you guys said about the silent film kind of vibe to it. And I would add that Thomas Newman's music is such a massive element that like makes this film so enjoyable, especially since there's not a lot of dialogue, specifically with Eve and Wally's scenes, so they need music to like elevate the emotions and like even tell the story. Like the song Define Dancing, like that scene and that song is just pure magic in my opinion. Like and then Eve's theme is also just so like ethereal and romantic. I love the romance of this film. I think like it's just so great. And yeah, Wall-E is the cutest thing ever. Like, cutest little robot ever created. I would say Baymax is a good follow-up with Big Hero 6, but nothing beats Wall-E.
You know, what film can make you fall in love with a cockroach as much as
Oh my god,
movie does?
yes, that's
Right.
another thing I wanted to talk about.
You know,
Yeah.
and then when he accidentally rolls over the cockroach
You're like,
and you think he's dead, and literally I remember being in theaters and people gasped. Like, people shooting gas, and the guy's
Yeah.
like boing boing, and then he just hops right up, and it's just sighs of relief. People are like, "Oh my god, I thought that
Thank
cockroach was
God.
dead." You're like, nobody cheers for
Yeah.
a cockroach.
Right.
yeah.
You didn't watch it in New York. New York was like,
Yeah,
get
it's so
that
true.
fucking cockroach.
Yeah, they were
So
cheering,
true.
they were cheering for Ratatouille in New York. They're like,
Yeah,
that
they
is
hate
fucking
Ratatouille
pizza.
and Wall-E. I do love to think about like the creative conception of this film. Where like, okay, we've got an innocent and curious robot as our protagonist on like an abandoned garbage-filled planet. Like the garbage towers are replacing the skyscrapers, which I also really thought was really cool. And I love that they're just like, okay, so who or what is going to be his sidekick? Like, well, nothing can survive on this planet, so of course it has to be a cockroach.
Right.
And yeah, somehow they made it so damn cute.
It's a Disney movies got to have an animal sidekick, and the only one
Yeah.
that would be remaining is the cockroach. So
Of
why
course.
not? And it works so beautiful, and he just waits there so patiently until
Yeah.
Wall-E comes home. You know, he's just hangs.
It's so sweet.
Yeah.
I think Wall-E's character design and Eve's character design is so interesting too. Like they're like stark opposites, which also makes their like romance so sweet.
Name? Wally. 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 Eve. 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 Eva. Eva.
And just like the characterization of Wall-E, I love so much. Like little things, the way he like rocks himself to sleep like a little baby, or like his Windows power up sound effect for when he's fully charged.
So good.
And then I even thought like his silhouette kind of looks like E.T. And I was like, they had to have thought of that.
Yeah.
But I wonder if, I don't know. I always think about that. And then, yeah, just him being like quite the romantic is such a funny little personality trait that I really like about him.
That's what makes him relatable. Is the love?
Yeah.
Right? You know.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you don't expect the robots to feel love, so I think that's like why you got to be on board with Wall-E. I don't know, man. It's just everything about this movie is so sweet.
So sweet. It is like, it's one of their more powerful films, and definitely it's like, it's the film that I think shakes you the most to be like, hey, you wake up, you know, people, like, look what's happening.
Yes.
And then, but also at the same time, I think it's their sweetest movie and like their most romantic movie. It's just, it's a
Spoonful
it
of
is a-
sugar. It's a spoonful of sugar, Nick. Right.
There
Like,
it is.
The lesson.
There it is.
The lesson that they're learning is like,
now I get Mary Poppins.
finally, it was worth seeing. It was worth- And, you know, like the lesson that they're trying to teach you is be good to your planet, be good to each other. You know,
Right.
like
Right.
Get outside, touch some
overconsumption.
grass,
Yeah,
man.
touch some grass.
Like,
Touch grass.
But
yeah, that's
but if you couch it with the love story, you know, to frame it, then it makes the bitter pill a little bit easier to swallow. So
yeah.
But I'm sure there's lots of people who are like, don't preach to me about this trash. I think I was reading on the Wikipedia page that like there's so many conservative critics who hated this film. They thought it was just lecturing them, and you're like, oh, dude, you're missing the forest for the trees, dude. You don't
Yeah.
you don't get it.
Seriously.
Dude.
Yeah.
And like on top of the romance, I just think about there's kind of so many storylines happening all at once in this film a little bit, you know, because you've got like Eve and Wally's adventure, and then you have like the captain and Otto's big like controversy, and then we also one of my favorite like little side plots is how Wall-E has connected these two humans
yeah.
and like gotten them out of their screens. And it's just like, that scene when Wall-E and Eve are dancing and the two humans come by and they're like, hey, I know that guy. It's Wall-E. It's just such a sweet moment.
They stop looking at the screens for 1 second and they just immediately fall in love with each other.
Well, I was thinking about even that scene when like they accidentally rest like their hands on each other's hand, and it's like, who knows the last time anyone's touched each other in this planet, you know, or on this spaceship, which is like such a crazy thing to think about. But I mean, I guess they showed babies, so I'm sure things are popping on the spaceship.
They're test tube babies.
They're made by and large babies.
Yeah, they don't have belly buttons.
By and large babies. Man.
I also love how every Pixar movie has like a theme of discovery and curiosity, and I think Wall-E is one of like the best examples of that.
Sure.
Just like always encouraging you to get out there and explore and experience. It's good stuff.
It's great stuff. I thank you for picking it, Max. I thank you for picking all your films, and we thank you for joining us here on the Gimme Three podcast once again.
It's a pleasure. As always, I love being here. Like I said, the last time I was here, I'm working on Barbra Streisand movies, and I'm still doing it. I just watched What's Up, Doc. And
okay, so you're making your way through. You're making your way through.
Bananas film. That's one of the craziest movies, but so funny. I laughed the entire time. So I'm plugging my way through this.
So
movies.
I love it.
At some point, Max is gonna report back to us after he watches Barbra Streisand's entire filmography.
Yes,
and he's gonna pick 3.
I'm gonna pick 3.
Wow. Good luck.
Thanks.
For now, that's a wrap on our Pixar week, everybody. We thank Max for joining us. And next week, my friends, you can join us again because we're going to continue our Pride Month celebration. Bella and I are going to discuss queer love stories in film. And we should have talked about Monsters, Inc. for that, the 2 gay dads. But until then, we want to hear from you. Your questions, your suggestions, your thoughts, your desires, your thoughts on the Pixar films we discussed, or perhaps a Pixar film that we didn't discuss. Did we leave out your favorite? Let us know. You can message us on Instagram at the Gimme Three Podcast, GIMME, spell out 3 podcast. Now you can also send us a text message. And you can do that by scrolling down to the episode description, and at the top, you'll see a link that says send us a text message. Click on that, and you can send us a text. And if it's clean, we'll even read it on the air. Well, clean, like I'm not the one who fucking cusses on the show.
I was going to say. It's like our Pixar episode was incredibly explicit.
So I guess we'll read it even if it's not clean. Max, tell the people where they could follow you on the socials.
Yeah, find me on Instagram at Max Sopkin. That's MaxSopkin. And let's chat.
Bella, tell the people where they can find you on the socials.
You guys can find me on Instagram at Portrait of a Cinephile, or on Letterboxd at BF Stratus. It's just B and then my last name, F Stratus.
You can find me on Letterboxd at Nicholas Ibarra, on Instagram at Nicholas Ibarra, on Twitter, also known as X, at Nicholas P. Ibarra, and the P stands for penmanship. Oh, and go see Inside Out 2. Go see Inside Out 2 on the big screen. Thank you all for listening to the Gimme Three podcast, and we will see you at the movies.